The bridge at Stuttgart, 1945. Germany, 1945. Near the city of Stuttgart, a narrow bridge stretched across a cold, gray river, one of the last usable crossings in the area. The war was collapsing in on itself. German forces were retreating, American units were repositioning, and chaos ruled the roads. Refugees flooded every route westward, trying to escape the fighting before it swallowed them whole. On that bridge stood a single American soldier. His name was Private First Class Robert CHEN. His unit had already pulled back. Their orders were explicit and non-negotiable. Destroy the bridge. Stop the German advance. Military logic was clear. If the bridge was blown, enemy patrols would be delayed. American lives could be saved. It was the kind of decision war demanded every day. But there was a problem. At that very moment, 340 civilians were still on the bridge. They were not soldiers. They were refugees, families who had lost everything. Mothers carrying infants wrapped in thin blankets. Elderly men dragging carts filled with what little they had left. Children walking barefoot, too tired to cry anymore. They were crossing slowly, desperately, trying to outrun a war that no longer cared who it killed. Robert CHEN saw them all. He looked at the bridge. He looked at the people. And then he made a choice that would define the rest of his life. He refused to detonate the explosives. Instead of the following order, he stayed. Alone with his rifle. For the next 19 hours, Robert CHEN held that position by himself. German patrols approached the bridge repeatedly, probing, testing, trying to push through. Each time, CHEN fired warning shots, repositioned, and made them believe they were facing a larger American force. He was exhausted. He had no backup. He had no guarantee his unit would return. But he did not leave. His only goal was simple. Every civilian would cross safely, or he would die on that bridge. Hour by hour, the refugees passed. One by one, families reached the far side. No explosions. No panic. Just a silent soldier standing guard while humanity moved behind him. When CHEN's unit finally returned, nearly a full day later, the bridge was still standing. And every single civilian was gone, alive. His commanding officer was furious. "You directly disobeyed a lawful order," the commander shouted. CHEN did not argue. He did not justify himself. He simply nodded. "Yes, sir," he said. "I did." The consequences of Robert CHEN's decision arrived quickly, but not in the way anyone expected. After the confrontation with his commanding officer, CHEN was formally questioned. On paper, his actions were clear-cut insubordination. He had been ordered to destroy a strategic bridge and had refused. In another moment, under another commander, that decision could have ended his military career, or worse. But war is not lived on paper. Reports from the area began to circulate. Intelligence confirmed that German units had been delayed. More importantly, local accounts confirmed something else: hundreds of civilians had crossed the bridge safely during the exact window when it should have been rubble. No one could deny what CHEN had done, or why. The disciplinary action quietly disappeared. Instead, Robert CHEN was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for valor. There was no ceremony. No formation. No applause. No speech. The medal was handed to him with a brief acknowledgement and filed away like administrative paperwork. No photographer documented the moment. No newspaper ran his name. The war was ending, and attention had already shifted elsewhere. In 1946, Robert CHEN returned home to the United States. He did not come back as a hero. He came back as a man who wanted a normal life. He settled in North Carolina, found work at a textile factory, and began again from scratch. The factory floor was loud, repetitive, and exhausting, but it was peaceful. He married. He raised children. He worked the same job for nearly 40 years, showing up every day, never late, never complaining. And he never talked about the war. Not to neighbors. Not to co-workers. Not even to his family. The Bronze Star never went on a wall. It never sat in a display case. It disappeared into a shoebox, tucked away in a closet, alongside a few folded letters written in German and an old black and white photograph of a bridge most people would never recognize. Once, when his children were old enough to ask, they tried. "Dad," one of them said, "what did you do in the war?" Robert CHEN paused. Just briefly. Then he answered, simply and honestly, "I did my job." That was all. No stories. No details. No emotion. To everyone around him, he was just a quiet man who worked hard and kept to himself. No one suspected that hundreds of lives existed because of a decision he made decades earlier. In 2001, Robert CHEN died of a heart attack. He was 76 years old. At his funeral, there were no military honors. No flag presentation. No mention of medals or bravery. Friends spoke of his work ethic. His family spoke of his kindness. That was how he was remembered. It was only later, long after he was gone, that the truth finally surfaced. Months after Robert CHEN's death, his daughter was cleaning out the family home. She opened closets, dusted shelves, and sorted through old boxes. In the back of a corner closet, behind faded coats and forgotten photo albums, she discovered a small shoebox. Inside was a collection of artifacts that told a story she had never known. There was the Bronze Star Medal, carefully wrapped in soft tissue. There were 3 letters written in German, folded neatly, their paper yellowed with age. And there was a photograph of a bridge, old and grainy, but unmistakable. One of those bridges that seems ordinary until you know its history. One letter, dated 1953, caught her attention. She read it slowly, each word weighted with meaning. "You allowed my mother to cross that bridge. She survived, and so I survived to see my children. Today, an entire generation exists because of you." Robert CHEN had kept that letter for 48 years, quietly tucked away in a shoebox. Not because he sought recognition. Not because he wanted praise. But because he valued the lives saved more than any medal or ceremony. His daughter contacted the military to confirm her father's record, hoping to clarify why such a hero had never been publicly recognized. The answer she received was shocking in its simplicity: the medal had never been properly filed. It had been awarded, but paperwork errors left it absent from official records. It was a small, bureaucratic oversight, but it underscored a profound truth: sometimes, heroes never get the recognition they deserve. Sometimes, their bravery is invisible to the world. And yet, their deeds are never invisible to history. Every life saved, every moment of courage, every quiet act of conscience echoes far beyond the individual who performed it. Robert CHEN never sought glory. He never sought attention. He simply acted on what he knew to be right. When his daughter held the Bronze Star in her hands, she realized something important: the medal, the letters, the photo, none of it mattered nearly as much as the lives her father had preserved. Hundreds of people had walked safely across that bridge. Families had survived. Generations had been born. All because one soldier chose humanity over orders. Sometimes, heroes do not march in parades. Sometimes, they do not have statues built in their honor. Sometimes, all they leave behind is a shoebox in a closet. But the world is better for their courage. And even decades later, the ripple of one man's decision continues to save lives in ways the world will never fully measure. Robert CHEN's story is a quiet reminder that true heroism often goes unseen, but its impact endures forever.